Here's the big one. 1.2.0. The new patch coming to Diablo 4 for Season 2, October 17th. This is going to be a very long video. I'll have timestamps below. We're going to go over each and every important detail. We're not going to go over every detail. I don't want to be here forever, but we're going to go over each important detail as we walk through this patch. As many of you know, in our previous video we just did over the live stream that Blizzard posted up, we got kind of a taste of things to come. Here we're doing a little bit of a deep dive, so let's get into it. New unique items and legendary aspects are being added. Unique items. Let's just look at some of these. What do we have here? We have Tassets of the Dawning Sky. Generic unique pants, so everyone can use them. When you take damage from a non-physical damage type, you gain plus 6 to 10% maximum resistance to that damage type for 6 seconds. This effect can only apply to one damage type at a time. I feel like these pants are probably going to be pretty good based off of how they've changed resistances up and how much you can kind of overcap resistances and the amount of damage that you can negate. This sounds on paper pretty good. We have Tusk Helm of Hortiz the Mighty. I probably butchered that. Barbarian unique helmet. When you gain berserking while already berserk, you have a 40 to 60% chance to become more enraged, granting 15% multiplicative damage, increased damage, 2 fury per second, and 10% cooldown reduction. That seems pretty cool. The barb we were playing in Season 1 was a charge barbarian, which we always have berserking up, so that would have been really neat to have. Let's continue on. We got Dolmen's Stone. This is a Druid unique amulet. So casting Boulder while Hurricane is active will cause your boulders to rotate around you. I wish I had some of the video footage, but it looks really cool. Blizzard showcased this on their live stream, and it just looked cool. You've seen Hurricane going, and you've seen boulders getting sucked up by the hurricane, and just it's like a Diablo 2 Hammered In, but with boulders. It looked really neat. Scoundrel's Leathers. That's for rogues. While you have unlimited energy from Inner Sight, your core skills have a 60 to 80% chance to spawn Caltrops, Poison Trap, or Death Trap. So that's pretty neat as well. I like that. These uniques are really cool sounding. Obviously, we don't know if they're great or bad on paper, but they seem really neat. Blood Moon Breaches. This is Necromancer pants. Your minions have a 3 to 7% chance to curse enemies. Enemies affected by at least one of your curses take 70% multiplicative increased overpower damage from you. This is kind of in tow with some of the things that they're doing with overpower. They're boosting overpower a little bit, or quite a bit. We'll get more into that later on. We have Blue Rose, which is a sorcerer unique ring. On lucky hit, damaging an enemy has up to a 30% chance of forming an exploding ice spike, dealing 0.25 to 0.35 cold damage. Triple this if the enemy is frozen. Could be cool. I mean, lucky hit builds are always kind of fun, so I enjoy them. What do we got here? Some legendary aspects. So moving on, we have the aspects below can be found on boots and amulets. Aspect of Slaughter, generic mobility aspect, 20% move speed. Lose this bonus for 2.5 to 5 seconds after taking damage. I'll never use that. I don't like those. Necromancer key passive, where if like you take damage or skeletal minions to like lose attack speed, I don't like that. You're always going to be taking some kind of damage. All right, the aspects below can be found on amulets, gloves, rings, and weapons. Aspect of elements. Oh, what is this? Let's see. It's a generic offensive aspect. Gain 20 to 30% additive damage. Increase damage to a set of damage types for 7 seconds. This effect alternates between 2 sets. Oh, no. Did they add Convention of Elements to D4? Like, someone at Blizzard has a hard-on for Convention. Stop. It's not fun. I don't like it, but okay. That's what it looks like to me. Convention of Elements. Wanton Rupture Aspect, Barbarian offensive aspect. Your Rupture does not remove the bleeding damage from enemies. This effect, ooh, that could be pretty cool. Raw Might Aspect, Druid offensive aspect. After you hit 15 enemies with your Werebear skills, this could be cool because we're planning on playing Werebear Season 2 again. Your next Werebear skill will deal 30 to 50% multiplicative more damage and stun enemies for 2 seconds. That could be neat. Honestly, we've played Pulverized Druid in the beta. We played a Pulverized Druid in preseason, and we played a little bit of one in Season 1. Not much, though. Wave clear wasn't the issue. It was single target, but who knows? Maybe it's just better overall. So that's neat. And, I mean, we relied on Overpower up until, like, level 50 when it got really bad. Aspect of Artful Initiative. When you spend 100 energy, you release a cluster of exploding stun grenades. I don't know how good or bad that's going to be. I don't really mess with stun grenades. Aspect of Long Shadow. Necromancer offensive aspect. Lucky hit. Your shadow damage over time effects have a 10 to 30% chance to generate 3 essence. Damage from your Shadow Blight key passive will always generate 2 essence. That could be cool. Maybe. I don't know how. I never really did Shadow. Always did Bone and just pure Summoner. Battlecaster's aspect for Sorcerer. Lucky hit. When your Conjuration skills hit, you have up to a 30 to 40% chance to gain +1 rank to your Conjuration skills for 12 seconds. This can stack up to 3 times. This could be pretty cool. Something that's really neat with this, they mentioned, and I didn't see any examples, or I haven't seen any examples yet, but they did mention that plus skills means a lot more now. So this could be really big for us. We'll just have to wait and see with it. But that's it for the legendary aspects that they've added. Now we're going to go to gameplay updates. Accessibility, cool new things. You got an audio cue to signal when you're near a ladder or a broken bridge. That could be kind of cool or annoying. UI and user experience. Items can now be marked as favorite. Items marked this way cannot be sold or salvaged. Good. Items in the stash can now be marked as junk or favorite. The stash can now be searched and filtered. Thank you. Using the sell all junk option will now only sell junk in the active inventory tab. Extracted aspects with the same legendary powers will now be grouped together when sorting in the inventory and stash. I love this change. The sorting of normal affixes on items have been improved. Dev node affix sorting has been curated to more deliberately sort similar affixes together. Thank you. Dungeons that have active whispers associated with them will now display the aspect name and description on the map tooltip. Streamer mode has been implemented. Yay. An additional option for hiding combat text is now available. Cool. So you don't get numbers and, all these notifications pop up on your screen if you don't want it. Auto run has been enabled or added. Okay. We have added an in-game announcement for upcoming world boss spawns. This is a big bonus. The visual effect of the map to denote active Helltide is now shown on the minimap. That's good. Minimap has been zoomed out to display a wider area. That's good. 3 new icons have been added for Helltide chests on the map. 1 each for jewelry, armor, and weapons. Another good one. 2 additional character slots. Another big bonus. I do hope that one day something that changes. We do have the minimap zoom. It would be nice to see a player zoom. I think that's something everyone is asking for. And also whenever you do zoom in on your player, let's say this is your character. My finger is the character. Instead of a camera zoom doing this, it goes like this. So you actually see your character. Diablo 3 had it. Let's bring that over. You brought Convention of Elements over. Bring this over too. Come on, Blizzard. Let's do it. All right, moving on. We got items. Enchant cost is now determined by a coefficient of base item power and item type instead of the item sell value. For rare items, this will generally result in a higher initial enchant cost, but subsequent enchanting will continue to escalate at a significantly reduced rate than prior. Enchant cost will be generally reduced across the board for legendary items. Looks like they have comparisons here. So your first enchant would be 56k before. Now it's 64,000. Your second enchant would skyrocket to 282. Now it's essentially doubled. And then the third enchant was 300 grand, 340 grand nearly. And now it's 100. This is huge. You could essentially get yourself into a predicament where you couldn't even, it wasn't worth enchanting anymore because you're spending like 30 mil or more on rolling. Just, that it just wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. When enchanting a legendary wand with 800 base item power, prior is 162 or 164. Now it's 72. So this is big positive. Big positive. Additionally, imprinting, adding sockets, or upgrading will no longer increase enchant cost. Very good. When we first started playing, we didn't know about this, and we spent a lot of money because you think to yourself, you get a piece of gear, you're like, oh, I'm going to upgrade this. I'm going to get it all set out. Well, I'm not really liking this one aspect. We'll change this now. It was just kind of like a gotcha on accident. It was weird. But thankfully, that's there now. So that fixes that. Dev note. Enchant being determined by sell value encourage players to re-roll a rare item before upgrading it. Exactly. The overall formula for enchant cost has been adjusted, so item adjustments need not be done in a specific order. Thank you. This is a good change. Gems will no longer drop, yes, from regular sources and can instead be crafted at a jeweler. So now basically we have what can be considered like a gem tab or gem bag, whatever you want to call it. Then you take it to a jeweler. Jeweler crafts it into gems that you can socket, no longer eating up a very consistent 8 slots or more, however many you could get. It was very annoying, so thankfully this is finally here. I love it. The overall drop rate of elixirs has been reduced. Okay, that's fine. Trying to reduce stress on players' consumable inventory tab. I see. That's cool. Whispering caches will now always only reward items of that specified equipment slot. Okay, good. It was really stupid to get rings when I rolled for a helmet from the Whispering Cache, so that's good. Drop chance of Scroll of Escape has been reduced from 0.1% to 0.025%. I know people said that this was really rare, but man, I could fire up my season right now, and over the course of this season, and this is after using about 80 scrolls on learning Echo of Lilith, I still got like over 100 scrolls of escape. I didn't think this is fine. I think it's fine. That's just me, though. Fiend Roses and Forgotten Souls are no longer required to upgrade non-sacred or ancestral items. That's fine. That's actually really good. Thank you for that. Item power ranges for sacred and ancestral items have been adjusted. Let me read this. This is actually my first time reading through these notes, like slowly. So give me a second here. What we got? Sacred. Previous range 625 to 720. New range 625 to 750. Ancestral. Previous range was 725 to 820. And new range is 780 to 925. Okay, so they kind of extended the gap a bit. So the new range is 750 tops on Sacred and 780 bottom on Ancestral. So that's a good thing. That's good. Level scaling examples. Note this is a high power range. Dropped. No, let's see. Okay, so essentially, we're going to be fighting things 100 plus. Oh, yeah. Okay, you can see it here. So for the top gear, you're going to be wanting to fight level 102 things, I'm guessing, is what this is showing. That's a big range. I mean, I guess most of these are pretty big ranges, but geez. It's going to be basically within 100, so that's still going to be annoying to deal with. Apologies, I'm going to have to be drinking a lot of water for this one. I'll be getting dry mouth. The acquisition rate of Forgotten Souls from salvaging has been adjusted. Salvaging a sacred item has a 5% chance to grant a Forgotten Soul, and Ancestral gives you 10%. Two-handed weapons can grant up to 2 Forgotten Souls from salvage. That's good. I mean, we never really struggled with this. The more you play, the less you get to mess with this or worry about this. Forgotten Souls has become much easier to get in Season of Malignant. Helltides was designed for Forgotten Souls, but being able to acquire them through other means disincentivized players from playing Helltides. We wanted to encourage players to participate in Helltides more. This is great for me. I love Helltides personally, so this is a big plus. The following loot adjustments has been implemented per world tier. World tiers 1 and 2 have been unchanged. World tier 3, only legendary, unique, uber unique, and sacred rare items will drop. Players will instead receive additional crafting resources. World tier 4, legendary, unique, uber unique, ancestral rares. Players will instead receive additional crafting resources. Gold drop rates have been increased in world tiers 3 and 4 to balance out these changes. More gold, that's a big plus. Less clutter of junk. That's good. That's good. World tier 4, only ancestrals. Only ancestrals. That's very good. What we got here? Dungeons. Okay, so moving on to dungeons. Teleporting to a nightmare dungeon now takes the player inside the dungeon. Thank you. We don't have to do 2 zones. Nightmare sigils will now be awarded upon completing a nightmare dungeon instead of only after defeating the final boss. Oh, for the nightmare dungeons that didn't have a boss at the end, I'm guessing. Okay, that makes sense. Monsters in Season of Blood nightmare dungeons will spawn closer to the entrance. This is meant to help reduce the amount of walking needed before your first encounter in the dungeon. Nightmare dungeon affix adjustments. General. Direct damage from major affixes can now be passively dodged. So, Blood Blisters, Death Pulse, cool. Backstabber. Oh, we actually kind of went over a lot of these. Just know that they nerfed a whole lot of things that no one wanted to deal with. Backstabbers was a rip city if you played hardcore. You stayed away from backstabbers. Death Pulse is another rip city in hardcore, but it's manageable. We do Death Pulse. They've nerfed it. More than welcome to pause the video. I'm going to save my voice here a little bit, but yeah, we've already kind of went through all this. The Lightning Storm one seemed kind of cool, but I don't think we're going to do that still. I just don't trust it. I'll let other people die to it first before I trust it. Monster Crit Resist got changed. Overpower Resist got changed, much the same. Potion Breakers, what is this? Monster attacks have a distance to disable your healing pots for 2 seconds. The new one increase the cooldown of your next potion. Oh, so that's a pretty big nerf. Poisonous Evade. Resistance Breaker, which might mean something now. Just FYI, this might mean something now. Thorns. No big thing. Glyph experience has been increased across the board with a significant increase at earlier tiers. Overall glyph experience across all tiers is up 19%. Good bonus. Many dungeons have received visual updates and layout improvements. We've received feedbacks that some dungeons lack visual diversity and required quite a bit of backtracking to complete, making them feel cumbersome. We believe our adjustments to dungeons in these areas will remedy player frustration, but we'll continue to listen to community feedback and make additional changes as needed. Miscellaneous quality of life updates for various dungeons. Maybe they added more density, so it's not just straight up farming Domahine tunnels, Uldur's Cave, give us some diversity. Maybe. We'll see. Endgame Activities. What do we got here? Legion events. The time between Legion events has been reduced from 30 minutes to 25 minutes. Every Legion event will now have a Whisper objective associated with it. Nice. Even more XP. This is good. Additional life scaling for Legion event monsters has been increased, so it's no longer just a... It was fun, but, you know, everyone just pile-drived everything. Experience reward for completing Legion has been increased by 75%. All right. This is good. We have received feedback that players don't often fight monsters during Legion events because monsters are dying too quickly. Yeah, I mean, that's a thing. World bosses. The time between world bosses has went from 6 hours to 3.5. Big bonus. Anyone that was trying to do all of the seasonal things and you had to kill, what was it, 15 world bosses in tier 4? That took forever. It took a while. World boss health and damage has been increased. The quality of rewards received for defeating a world boss has been significantly increased. All right. The warning that indicates when a world boss will spawn now broadcast an hour in advance versus 30 minutes previously. Players are also notified 15 minutes before the world boss spawns. This is a big bonus. World bosses now become immune 2 seconds after beginning their escape. What? I guess if the time limit ran off or something. Okay. General, silent chest can now spawn in areas where Helltide is active. All those gamble key chests that were 90% bad. The tier for Nightmare Sigils rewarded from Whisper Caches will now always be within 5 levels of the highest level Nightmare dungeon the player has completed. Really? That's kind of cool. Huh. All right. Sigil levels will still respect the maximum and minimum levels determined by the world tier. Okay. Various quality of life updates for Whispers, such as moving the altars to bring collected resources to a more central location and reducing the number of monsters needed to be slain to complete certain objectives. All right. Whisper caches will now reward significantly more gold and increased gem fragments. All right, cool. So in-game activities, that's a plus there. That's good. Mounts get their own little category here. Overall responsiveness of mounts has been improved. Mounts are now less likely to get stuck or slow down unexpectedly. Okay. Mounts automatically jump across traversal areas. Mouse cursors no longer needed to be at the edge of the screen to achieve full mount speed. Base mount movement speed has been increased by 14%. Your mount's top speed remains unchanged. Spurring. The speed boost from Spur has had its duration increased by 50%. Using Spur now also allows mounts to break through barricades. This is a pretty neat little addition here. I like that. Cooldowns. Manual mount cooldown has been reduced from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. The cooldown appearing after you've been forced to dismount from taking damage has been reduced from 30 seconds to 15 seconds. Cooldown for the mount combat skill has been reduced from 10 to 3 seconds. Thank you. It's just fun to do sometimes, you know? All right, moving on to town adjustments. Pretty much what we went over the other day, but they've added... Towns are just better now. We don't have, like, the picture to show right now, but they showed Kjolvashad had multiple stashes located in different places, convenient places. It's just better. Towns are just better now. So this is a huge boost. Thank you for this. Moving on, we're going to go to monsters. All monsters and bosses across the game have been rebalanced around all the other changes slated for Season of the Blood to ensure the overall difficulty of the game does not drastically change. Level scaling in the open world has been adjusted. Levels of the monsters encountered in the open world will scale with the player's level with a minimum and maximum level determined by world tier. So, what this means is world tiers 1 and 2, levels 1 to 50. World tier 3, minimum 55, max 70. World tier 4, minimum 75, max 100. Okay. We have generally reduced the evasiveness of many monsters. Cooldown for teleport cast by night monsters has been increased, and the range has been decreased. Thank you. Spider host cold explosions now chills instead of freezes, so less CC. Bloated corpse fiend death explosion no longer does knockback. Okay. Spider hosts, bloated corpse fiends, and fly hosts will no longer spawn with the fire enchant or plague affix. Really? Since they already do an explosion, I guess they don't want to double that explosion. I get it. Huh. It's interesting, though. The Seething Abomination's Ground Slam ability will now spawn a poison pool under the player. Ghost monsters have received a visual upgrade. All right. Experience updates. This is a big one. So according to Blizzard, we're going to be going 40% faster to 100 starting in Season 2. Increase in incenses now grant a bonus 2 XP, and they persist after death. The experience bonuses for being in a party and for playing in a higher world tier have been made multiplicative to increase effectiveness later into the game. Experience gained from killing higher level monsters has been significantly increased. This is huge. So levels 1 to 50 have been unchanged. Level 55, you get like, what is that? 55 more XP. Yeah. So yeah, these changes are pretty big. Because I mean, you got to think to yourself, this doesn't add up looking like much on paper, but you're killing so much at once. Like that's good. This adds up. Experience rewards for completing individual whispers, cashing in grim favors, and opening Helltide chests have been increased. Okay, that's good. Ooh, 750%, huh? Mama. Rewards for turning in grim favors. World tiers 1 and 2 plus 200%. World tier 3, 17. World tier 4, 11. Individual whisper completion. You can see tier 1 increased by 100. World tier 3, has been increased by 150%. Whisper tiers refers to how many grim favors the whisper grants upon completion. Cool. And miscellaneous. Necromancer, minions, and Druid companions are now much less likely to target invulnerable enemies. Effects that guarantee an overpower on your next cast will always be consumed on the next appropriate cast, regardless of whether a target is hit. If you have multiple of such effects, only one will be consumed per cast. This is huge for Druids. Huge for Werebear Pulverized build. I love it. Thank you. All renown rewards now persist between seasons and new characters. Okay? Level at which players will receive a priority quest for unlocking the new world tier difficulty has been increased. World tier 3, 40 to 48. World tier 4, 60 to 68. Players are free to attempt the capstone dungeons at any level, but we have raised the level at which players is prompted to attempt them. This is so players don't feel encouraged to attempt challenges that might be too difficult for them. You know, if you're 11 levels below a capstone and you decide you're going to go do it, don't cry if you die, kind of thing. Rewards for completing side quests have been improved to scale with higher world tiers. Increased veiled crystal drops from salvage caches. Slightly increased rare leather and rare ore drops. Salvage caches will now contain an item. Okay. Various traps in the world have been adjusted. Barrels. Now just a one-time explosion, no longer have a lingering effect. That's good. They got annoying. Inflicts more chill on monsters, can now be passively dodged. Bear trap won't just lock you in place forever. Mines now apply knockback. Lightning mines will stun monsters, can be passively dodged. And rock drop now applies a slow. Huh. Okay. Increase monster density for the following events. Everything. Most everything. Increase the speed of progression of the following events. Time between waves, time to start, etc. Thank you. This was really annoying. Thank you. Health of stranded NPCs. NPCs that need to be protected to achieve mastery goals for events now scales better in higher level areas. Now, The question is, if we're saving the 3 NPCs and they get bit by a little baby poison spider, will it still just outright kill them? Only time will tell. In the event a hardcore player disconnects while in combat, a scroll of escape will automatically be consumed to teleport the player's character to a safe location. So I do have a question with this. What if you disconnect and you're not in combat, but then you become in combat? We actually lost a level 100 rogue because of this. We had a 100 rogue. Nothing was around her whatsoever. And we had a crash, and we logged back in, and she died. She wasn't in combat when I crashed, or when I DC'd. Well, I guess we'll find out with that. That'll be interesting, though. All right, moving on. Balance updates. Unique items. Our goal for unique items is that they feel impactful to your build and create a moment of excitement upon dropping. Some unique items were falling short of this goal, so we are updating them in a few ways. All right, cool. We kind of went over this a little bit in our last video, but these are more changes that they're doing to more unique, so this is cool. They add new affixes that didn't yet exist on the items, add affixes that already exist, but with a much higher value, fixes in a slot that normally wouldn't be in, and update unique powers to be more desirable. Let's see what we got with Butcher's Cleaver. Damage to crowd control enemies affix increased by 160%. Wow. That's a lot. Frostburn. Freeze duration affixes increased by 70%. Cold damage affix replaced with attack speed. Okay. Mother's Embrace. Overpowered damage affix replaced with bonus maximum life, which entail helps overpower as well. Number of enemies hit required for resource refund reduced from 5 to 4. Okay, that's neat. I like that. Fist of Fate. Lucky hit. Chance to heal life affix replaced with lucky hit. Chance to gain damage. Oh, okay. And then Dariel's Visage. No one ever seen this. Poison resist affix increased by 32%. That's huge. All right. I mean, it is a uber unique, so. Moving on to resistances. This one's going to be juicy. Prior to Season of Blood, resistances didn't work. Example, you have 3 sources of 20% resistance. The first source would provide the full 20%. The second source would add 16. And the third would add 12.8. It's a inverse multiplicative thing. It was just bad. Starting with Season of Blood, resistances will now stack additively. Additionally, resistances stats now cap at 70%. Very Diablo 2-esque here. And Diablo 2, I feel like, did it correctly. Example, you now have 30 resistance, and an item gives you 20. You now have 50. Thank you. Resistance boosting elixirs now also increase the player's maximum resistance value. This is huge. Going above the maximum gives you a crazy amount of damage reduction. Oh, and I'm just now noticing. Every time I'm slapping my desk, my camera's going off. I apologize. It is what it is, though. We'll just have to live with it for now. Let's see what else we got here. Added a new resistance category within the stats section. Okay. World Tiers 3 and 4 now apply a 25% and 50% penalty to resistance to all elements. All right. Instead of a multiplier. Okay. So it's just like Diablo 2. Single resistances. Affix can now roll on pants. Single resistance can now contribute to a maximum value of 35% resist for a fully upgraded normal item. 48 for sacred, 65 for ancestral. Okay. Big bonuses here. All resist affix now gives a maximum value of 9% resistance for a fully upgraded normal, 12% for sacred, 16 for ancestral. Okay, so these are just like upgrades. More equals better. Now, they did mention in the live stream that most players by level 80 will hit your maximum resist. It's something that's kind of an afterthought, I guess. You'll get it as you play. And then when you fight enemies of a specific element, you'll chug a potion if you're playing hardcore, or, you'll chug a potion of that resistance to that damage. And if you're not playing hardcore, I guess you're just going for damage. I don't know. We'll see how it pans out, but that's essentially what I'm getting out of it. All resistance values on diamond gems has been adjusted. Okay. Crude 1%, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Single resistance paragon nodes have been adjusted to plus 10% on rare nodes and 5% on magic. Okay. All resistance paragon nodes have been adjusted to 3% on rare and 1.5 on magic. This is the elixir changes. You can just read through those. Looks like they're going up 5% each tier. Level requirement to craft the all resist elixir has been majorly cut, 90 to 35. That's good. So they're putting an emphasis on resistances. That's good. Another avenue in the game to look out for. This is big positive. Yeah, this is just all the potions that you can craft up. So you can read through these. You can pause and read through these if you want. Intelligence now gives 0.025% all res per 1 int instead of 0.05% all res per 1 int. Okay. So they have that. Now we have armor. So the one of the big things here, so currently in Season 1, the way it works, armor is just your catch-all because armor does more than resistances kind of do, right? Well, in Season 2, when this patch hits, I still don't understand why this camera's doing that. I apologize. But in Season 2, the way it's going to work is armor is going to be for physical stuff, like if you're getting a hit, your armor protects you. But if someone casts a fire spell at you, your armor is not really going to do anything for you, right? That's your resistances. This is how it should have been from the start, I think. But, yeah, it is now, so... They did boost armor quite a bit here. Non-physical damage reduction from armor and resistances are no longer split. Resistances now contribute their full value to non-physical damage. Armor no longer contributes to non-physical damage reduction and now only reduces damage against physical damage. This is exactly what I just said. They're also giving a big bonus. So percentage total armor affix has been increased by 160%. And percentage total armor while in werewolf form and werebear have been increased by 130%. Let's go Druid. Attributes and affixes. The evade grants movement speed. Affix duration now increases with item upgrades. Yay. Skill rank and passive rank affixes that roll at +1 now upgrade to +2 when at 5 item upgrades, rather than remaining at +1. Okay, that's good. Okay, here's some meat and potatoes that we're going to go over here. We're going to spend a while here, but damage bucket updates. Here we go. Let's see what we got here. Builds that utilize critical strike damage and vuln damage have been disproportionately powerful. This is because these stats were previously calculated as part of separate damage buckets that were fully multiplicative when combined with other damage bonuses. In order to promote greater build diversity, we are changing how critical strike, vulnerable, and overpower damage is calculated. These damage types will now always have a baseline multiplicative bonus. Additional sources of bonus critical strike damage, vuln damage, or overpower damage will be additive to your other damage bonuses. Overpower will also receive additional additive damage based on your maximum health and fortify amounts. This change represents an overall decrease in damage output, so we are adjusting monster scaling to ensure that the best class builds are still as powerful as before. This change is not intended to lower the power of the best builds, but rather allow more builds to reach that same level of power. We have also added a variety of mechanics to classes that encourage them to chase other stats for multiplicative bonuses. rather than always chasing crit and vuln. And what we have for overpower. Overpower attacks now always deal up to 50% multiplicative increased damage based on your current life percentage. Overpower attacks gain plus 2% damage per 1% base life you have in Fortify. Overpower attacks gain plus 2% damage per 1% of your base life that you have in bonus life. So Fortify and bonus life, gonna add a bit more. All overpowered damage affixes have increased by 50%. Overpowered damage Paragon glyphs have been increased by 33%, and overpowered damage Paragon nodes have been increased by 50%. Overpower's looking nice right now if you can consistently get it to proc for yourself, like Druids or maybe even Barbs. Necromancers, Blood Necromancers too, I'm sure. Crit Strike. Critical strikes now always deal 50% increased damage. Critical strike damage affix and critical strike damage with Bone Earth imbued and Werewolf skills affixes has been increased by 20%. Critical strike damage affix inherent on swords has been increased by 100%. And critical strike damage Paragon glyphs has been increased by 100%. Vulnerable. Dealing damage to a vulnerable enemy now always deals 20% increased damage. Vulnerable damage affix has increased by 40%. Vulnerable damage affix inherent on crossbows has been increased by 87%. Vulnerable damage Paragon glyphs has been increased by 100. So this sounds like a crazy increase, right? Like, oh my God, 100%, 87%. But they changed things from being multiplicative past the point to additive, which that scales radically different, obviously. So these numbers may look big, but they're all additive. Just remember, and you're going to get that baseline of 50% increased damage. You're going to get that baseline of 20% increased damage with vulnerability. That's multiplicative, but everything past that is going to be additive. We'll see how big that changes things. I think it's going to shake the game up quite a bit. We'll see. Have to wait and see. Big change, though. And Miscellaneous. The effect of the Death's Defense passive, which prevents Necromancer minions from taking more than 30% of their maximum life in one hit with all points allocated to it, has now been made an inherent attribute for all summons. Now, all minions will only take up to 30% of their max life in a single hit as damage. This is also for Druid companions, they mentioned. Death's Defense has been updated with a new effect to compensate for this change. Cool. Class balance updates. Oh boy, as you can see, we did click on Druid to see what we got there. Class balance updates. The loot chase to find an item with ideal stats for your build is core to the Diablo experience. We want to encourage increased diversity in itemization and make creating your build more interesting. To achieve this, we are adding... I lost my place. We're adding a variety of ways for classes to scale with specific stats in interesting ways, particularly through using key passives and Paragon. For example, Barbarian's Hemorrhage legendary Paragon node will now multiplicatively increase your bleeding damage by a portion of your damage to vulnerable enemy stat. The remainder of the class changes were aimed at improving underused skills, legendary aspects, and powers, as well as addressing other pressing issues. For example, we have reworked several Paragon glyphs for the Sorcerer and Necromancer, who did not have appropriate places on their Paragon boards to properly utilize these glyphs. We're going to be here a minute. These are big. Barbarian. What do we have for Barbs? Barbarian. The bonus damage granted while berserking is active is now multiplicative instead of additive. Big bonus. Skills. Enhanced bash. Fortify amount changed from being based on base life to maximum life. Upheaval. Got a pretty big damage increase here. Furious upheaval. Bonus damage per stack has been increased by 7%. Maximum number of stacks reduced from 10 to 6. So you have to, okay. That's good. That's less time spent doing basic skills, if you're going with that. Strategic Rallying Cry. Fortify amount from base life to max life. Strategic Iron Skin, same thing. Mighty War Cry, same thing. Supreme Wrath of the Berserker. Maximum damage bonus is now multiplicatively. That word. Multiplicatively 100% bonus damage. Enhanced Rupture. Additional functionality. This damage is increased by 10% multiplicatively for each 50 strength you have. Warrior's Rupture. Attack speed has been increased by 10% from 30 to 40. Fighter's Rupture has healing increased from 18 to 22% max life. All right, we got some passives here. Endless Fury. Fury gain increased from 5-10-15 to 7-14-21. Imposing Presence. Maximum life has been increased by 5-10-15 to 6-12-18. Martial Vigor. Damage reduction against elites has been increased from 3-6-9 to 4-8-12. And Thick Skin. Fortify amount changed from being based on base life to max life. Okay. Paragon. Decimator. The previous way this worked was two-handed slashing weapons. Attacks had an 8% chance to make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. The new way it works, each time you make an enemy vulnerable, your damage is increased by 10% for 5 seconds. Overpowering a vulnerable enemy grants an additional 10 bonus for 5 seconds. That's big. Bone Breaker. Previously, overpowers with your two-handed bludgeoning weapon, stun enemies for 1 second, and grant you 20% of your max life. As Fortify. New, every 12 seconds, your next skill is guaranteed to overpower. That's huge. That's huge. With all the changes to overpowered, that's huge. I like that a lot. Flawless Technique. Duration increased from 2 to 4 seconds. Critical strike chance, maximum amount increased from 5 to 8. Excuse the hiccups. Carnage. Attack speed is maximum amount has been increased double. That's cool. Warbringer. Fortify amount increased from 12 to 15. Weapons Master. Previously, swapping weapons grants you 3 Fury. New swapping weapons grants you 4% of your max Fury. Ooh, that could be huge. Hemorrhage. Previous, enemies that have been affected by your bleeding for 3 or more seconds take 12% multiplicative damage, increased damage from you. New, your bleeding damage is increased by 15% of the total amount of your damage to vuln enemies bonus. Okay. Blood Rage. Additional functionality. Your damage dealt is increased by 25% multiplicatively of your total amount of damage while berserking bonus. Ooh. That could be pretty neat. Legendary aspects. Of Ancestral Force. Previous, the Hammer of Ancients quakes outwards, dealing 32 to 50% of its damage. The new is it quakes outwards, and its damage is increased by 5 to 15%. Okay. Set of containing a separate source of damage. This aspect now directly increases the total damage of the area effect. Okay. Makes sense now. Earthstriker's aspect. Weapon swap requirement for overpower attack reduced from 10 to 8. More overpowers. Adjusted functionality. Overpower proc now happens on your next non-basic attack. I love it. Because sometimes you would build those stacks up and then, you needed a little bit more fury and whoop, wasted. It's really annoying to use. All right, they're unique updates. So the Magnum Opus from Ramaladnes. I think I'm saying that right. Damage to vulnerable enemies. Affix has been replaced with Max Fury at 150% of normal value. Damage per Fury increased from 0.1 to 0.3 to 0.2 to 0.4. Azarath, non-physical damage affixes have been increased by 120%. That poor thing. Still never used. Hellhammer. Critical strike damage affix replaced with bonus ranks of upheaval. Damage to burning enemies has been increased by 150%. Now, I'm really interested in this. I'm going to be playing another upheaval bar probably in Season 2 after my Druid. Really interested to see what Hellhammer is like, because they did mention that bonus ranks to item or to skills Means a lot more now. So could be big. Could be cool. Ancient's Oath. Damage to slowed enemies. Affix replaced with damage to close enemies. The unique power has been adjusted. Previously, Steel Grasp would throw out 2 additional chains. Enemies hit by Steel Grasp are slowed by 55 to 65% for 3 seconds. Now, it launches 2 additional chains. Enemies that have been pulled in by Steel Grasp take 30 to 50% bonus damage multiplicative from you for 3 seconds. That's huge. That's a big, big change. Overkill. Critical strike chance against injured enemies. Affix replaced with ranks of Deathblow. Fields of Crimson. Bonus ranks of Rupture affix replaced with Rupture cooldown reduction. At 200% of the normal value. Battle Trance. Ooh. I enjoyed this because I like Frenzy. Bonus ranks of Frenzy affix increased by 100%. All right, cool. Damage reduction while injured affix replaced with bonus Max Fury. Loving it. All right. 100,000 steps. Dexterity affix increased by 100%. Damage with skills that swap to new weapons increased by 50%. And cooldown for the free ground stomp. This is exactly what we asked for when we were playing our Barb. I was like, this would be cool if it was halved. Boom. Look what we got, baby. Let's go. That ground stomp was just fun. It wasn't great, but it was fun. Rage of Haragath. Or Haragath. The D2 town. Damage reduction from bleeding enemies affix increased by 15%. And Whirlwind Gloves, non-physical damage affix replaced with damage. Attack speed affix replaced with crit strike chance against close enemies. Developer's notes. Improving the attack speed of Whirlwind is a fantasy we want players to be able to chase. However, the interaction between the stat and skill is inconsistent. We are replacing the affix so it is more functional. There's Barb. Let's go to Druid. Not Battle Pass. Druid. Ooh-wee. What we got here? Another drink of water. All right. Druid. Unique items. Mad Wolf's Glee. Poison damage affix replaced with damage at 140% of normal value. Physical damage affix has been replaced with maximum or bonus max life. Okay. Satiable Fury. Overpowered damage affix increased by 100%. Let's go. Total armor while in werebear form affix has been increased 180%. Loving it. All right. Storm's Companion. Ranks of Wolves affix increased by 66%. Companion skill damage affix replaced with bonus maximum life. And potion drop rate affix replaced with damage reduction. Cool. Fleshrender. Damage while shapeshift affix increased by 100%. Damage while healthy affix replaced with core skill damage. And the damage dealt to poisoned enemies from Debilitating Roar and Bloodhowl is now increased by 10% for each 100 willpower you have. Ooh. Fleshrender might be kind of cool. Hunter's Zenith. That's the ring. Damage while shape-shifting affix increased by 60%. Bonus ranks of the quick shift passive affix increased by 200%. Critical strike damage with wolf skills affix replaced with critical strike chance. Okay. Overpowered damage with bear skills affix replaced with bonus ranks of the heightened sense. Heightened sense. What was that? That was increased damage reduction whenever you changed forms, I believe, is what that is. Okay. Skills. Fierce Earth Spike. Fortifying Mount changed to base life. From base life to max life. Same with Enhanced Maul. Ravens got a pretty big passive damage increase. Active damage increase as well. Enhanced Ravens. Bonus critical strike chance increase from 5 to 8%. Rabies. Damage got increased a bit. Spread speed increased by 50%. That's a big one. Natural rabies. Spread speed bonus reduced from 100 to 50%. Actual spread speed remains unchanged due to base spread speed increase for rabies. Bulwark. So base to maximum life with Fortify, with Bulwark, Debilitating Roar, Ferocious Wolf Pack, Trample, knockback distance reduced by 10%. I like that. I hated trampling and it was like Moses, like everything goes to the sides. No. Keep them together a little bit better. Thank you. 10%. Natural Trample, base life to max life, Fortify, Supreme Grizzly Rage, same thing. Passives, what do we got here? Ancestral Fortitude. You gain 5, 10, 15% resistance to all elements. That's good. Charge Atmosphere. Interval for lightning bolts reduced from 18, 15, 12 to 14, 11, 8. Electrical Shock or Electric Shock. Lucky Hit. Chance to immobilize increase from 5, 10, 15 to 8, 16, 24. Bonus damage to immobilized enemies increase from 6, 12, 18 to 7, 14, 21. And then for Safeguard, Thick Hide, Nature's Resolve, and Natural Fortitude, base life and max life of Fortify. That change has been radicalized all across. That's a good thing. Nature's Fury. Casting an Earth skill has a 30% chance to trigger a free Storm skill of the same category and vice versa. These free skills count as both Earth and Storm skills. Earth sign Strength, while healthy. Oh, this is good. This is a good change. While healthy, deal 25% multiplicative damage, increased damage, and 25% increased overpower damage. So before, I think it was like while you're healthy, you did more damage or something. It wasn't this. So this is a good change. Lupine Ferocity. The guaranteed critical strike bonus is increased to 140% multiplicative against injured enemies. Okay. And Legendary Aspects. Raging Werebeast. Critical strike damage bonus amount has been increased, has a maximum of 200% instead of ramping up forever. Paragon. What do we have for Paragon here? Earthen Devastation. Previously, your Earth skills deal 30% increased damage to enemies afflicted by crowd control. New Earth skills deal 10% multiplicative increased critical strike damage, increased by 25% of the total amount of your bonus damage to crowd controlled up to 40%. That's a mouthful. Okay. We'll take it. And then we have Thunderstruck. Previously, Storm skills deal 30% increased crit strike damage against vulnerable or immobilized enemies. New Storm skills deal bonus damage equal to 50% of the total amount of your damage to close and damage to distant enemies. That's a fair amount of changes right there for Druid. I'm cool with that. Druid, I felt like was already in a good spot. Now, even better. So, all right. We're almost halfway there, boys. Necromancer. The Skeletal Warriors inherit Thorns, Skeletal Mage inherit Thorns, and Golem inherit Thorns have been combined to a single affix. Thank you. Just get them in there. New affix has been added. Minions inherit critical strike chance. Okay. Cooldown reduction can now appear on shields. It's that strong. Shields now have an armor value. Thank you. Blood Orbs now also heal your minions for 15% of your max life when picked up. Okay. Shield. Prime Army of the Dead, chance to leave behind a corpse, has been increased from 15 to 100%. Okay. Initiates Hemorrhage, fortify amount from base life to max life. Same with Supernatural Blood Surge. Same with Dreadful Blood Mist. Same with Dreadful Bone Prison. Bone Prison also gets the decompose time to make a corpse reduced from 2 to 1.5 seconds. Passives. What we got here? That's defense. Minions, this is what we talked about earlier. Minions not losing, not just melting when they get hit with something hard. This is a good change. Very good change. Terror now applies to your shadow damage rather than darkness skills. The first bonus now applied to chilled enemies, and its second bonus applies to frozen. Standalone, the description for this passive is updated. Increased damage reduction by 6, 12, 18 when you have no minions. Each active minion reduces this bonus by 2%. Drain Vitality, base to max, fortify. Same with Necrotic Carapace. Rathma's Vigor. Increases your maximum life by 10%. This is what it used to be. After being healthy for 12 seconds, your next blood skill overpowers. Now, after being healthy for 12 seconds, your next blood skill overpowers. The timer is reduced by 2 seconds each time blood orbs heal or overheal you for an amount greater than or equal to your base life. Okay? Shadow Blight. Now, shadow damage infects enemies with Shadow Blight for 2 seconds every 10th time an enemy receives shadow damage from you or your minions. While they are affected by Shadow Blight, they take additional 22% shadow damage. Shadow Blight's damage is increased by 100% multiplicative of your shadow damage over time bonus. Whew, these are long. Transfusion. Previously, blood orbs would heal your minions 20, 40, 60. Now, lucky hit, blood skills have a 369% chance on hit to spawn a blood orb. This can only occur once every 4 seconds. Chance is doubled against bosses. Gruesome Mending. Now you just get heals from all sources, 10, 20, 30% at all times instead of just below 50%. Inspiring Leader. Healthy duration requirement reduced from 4 to 2 seconds. Ossified Essence. This is one we talked about earlier. Damage percent per essence past 50 has been reduced from 1% to 0.5. Bonded in Essence cooldown has been increased. This is an adjustment to match the update of Skeletal Priest, which can be seen below. Okay. Skeletal Warrior's Defender Sacrifice bonus has been updated. You gain plus 20% resist to all elements, but you can no longer raise Skeletal Warriors. Skeletal Warriors, Skirmishers, base damage has been increased by a chunk. Same with Defenders. Golems, basic attack damage has been doubled. Blood Golem has been active damage increase. Iron Golem, active damage increase. Raise Skeleton. Skeletal Priest duration increased from 5 to 8 seconds. Total healing increased from 15 to 25%. That's a big change. Bone Mage Sacrifice. Overpower bonus damage reduced from 40 to 25%. And there's a whole lot of changes with Paragon here. Whoo, boy. Mage Paragon Glyph. Previously was a resist all. Now it's 35% resist all. Warrior Paragon Glyph was 20% increased armor. Now it's 30%. Fused Caster, rare. Let's see. We got Skeletal Mage resist to all elements. Now it's Minion resist to all elements. Flesh Horror Node, resist all elements. This is a bunch of stuff right here. Basically, they gave some percentage armor increases to stuff here. Hulking Monstrosity Legendary Node. Golem damage increased by 60%. Infused Warrior got a damage increase. Infused Caster damage increase. Golem. It's just all the summons got buffed. Armor and damage. Holy crap. It's actually pretty big. Bone Graft. Maximum essence per stack reduced from 3 to 2. Total maximum essence reduced from 24 to 16. Wither Legendary Node is scales off intelligence now. Good. All these, yeah, I don't know why they scaled off willpower. I guess for overpower or something, but that is weird. Should have just been intelligence. Unique items for the Necromancer. Blood Artisan's Cross. I don't know how to say that word. Total armor affix replaced with maximum life. That's good. That's going to help overpower. Deathless Visage. Armor affix replaced with damage reduction. Big up. Echoes left behind by Bone Spear from the unique. Now deal 5% increased damage for every 30% of your crit strike bonus damage stat. That's big. And damage has been reduced a little bit. Bloodless Scream. That's the two-handed scythe. Damage to frozen enemies affix replaced with bonus intelligence. Chill amount for darkness increased from 40 to 100. The unique power has had the following effect. Darkness skills deal 20 to 50% multiplicative bonus damage from frozen enemies. Whew, we're getting there. Jeez. Death Speaker's Pendant. I'm tired of talking. Summoning skill affix or damage affix increased by 100%. Overpower damage, damage increase, Black River. I'm not going to say every single thing from here out. We're just going to kind of skim through it. The important things I see. Lidless Wall. Damage to distant enemies affix replaced with bonus maximum life. That's good. Because you're already close to them with Lidless Wall. You typically. Ring of Mendeln got a buff. Nice buff. Unique power no longer requires 7 or more minions to be active. That's good. Legendary aspects. Hulking aspect no longer appears on rings. Instead, it will appear on helmets, chest, boots, gloves, amulets, and shields. Title aspect. Damage penalty got reduced. Aspect of Empowering Reaper got a damage increase. Pretty substantial. Aspect of Hardened Bones no longer requires 7 or more minions. Aspect of Reanimation now affects your golems as well as your skeletons. Coldbringer's aspect. You don't need cold mages to cast the Blizzard anymore. Any mage can. And aspect of Potent Blood. Previously, while at full life, Blood Orbs grant 10 to 20 essence. New, while healthy, Blood Orbs grant 10 to 20 essence. All right. Let's get on to Rogue and let's get this. Oh, mama. Wait. Where did it take me? Where am I at? What happened? Oh, it took us down a bit. Okay. Holy cow. All right. Rogues. Grasp of Shadows. Bonus ranks of all core skills affix increased by 100%. Shadow clone damage affix increased by 150%. And damage to vulnerable enemies affix has been replaced with bonus dexterity. All right. We also have Condemnation. Critical strike chance against injured enemies affix has been replaced with critical strike damage. Wind Force. Let's see what happened to Wind Force here. Core skill damage affix increased by 40%. Damage to distant enemies affix replaced with bonus ranks of concussive passive. And lucky hit chance to double damage and knock back enemies has been increased from 10 to 20 to 20 to 30. Maybe people will use Wind Force now. Sky Hunter. Previously, the first enemy you damaged was always a crit. And you gain 10 or 20 to 30 enemy or energy if you have max stacks of precision. Now the first direct damage you deal to an enemy is a guaranteed crit if you have maximum stacks of precision. You get 10 to 20% bonus crit strike damage, and you gain 5 to 10 energy. Okay, it's a little bit different. Cowl of the Nameless. Maximum energy affix replaced with bonus ranks of imbuement skills at up to one rank above normal. Dexterity affix has been replaced with damage reduction from close. Eagle Horn. Previously with Eagle Horn, penetrating shot has a 30 to 80% chance to fire an arrow that bounces off walls and scenery. Hitting enemies from behind with penetrating shot will make them vulnerable for 3 seconds. Now, penetrating shot has a 30 to 80% chance to fire an arrow that bounces off the walls and scenery. Damaging 5 enemies with penetrating shot will cause your next attack or next cast to make enemies vulnerable. Just a little bit difference there. Eyes in the Dark. Damage to enemies affected by traps increased by 150%. That's pretty big. Damage to elites affix replaced with maximum life. Dodge chance affix replaced with damage reduction. The unique power now additionally increases the damage of death trap by 30 to 50%. Word of Hakan. Ultimate skill damage affix increased by 200%. Cooldown reduction affix replaced with Rain of Arrows cooldown reduction at 300% of normal value. That's actually pretty big. Critical strike damage with imbued skills affix replaced with movement speed. It's another big one. We always want movement speed on those. Skills. We have primary blade shift upgrade. Description has been updated to while blade shift is active, you gain 15% resist all and reduce the duration of crowd control by 20%. Also, blade shift has a lucky chance increase from 35 to 50%. Enhanced blade shift now gives the full 20% movement speed bonus immediately. And Heartseeker, got to change. They're trying to get people to stop using puncture and move on to other basics because puncture is that strong. I don't think this is going to change anything. I really don't. They basically just boosted all their basics here. Caltrops duration increased by a second. Enhanced smoke grenade 5%. Passives. We're almost there. Impetus. Distance for damage buff reduced from 15 to 12 meters. Now increases the damage of your next non-basic attack. Victimize, damage increased by 120% of your damage versus vulnerable, and close quarters combat damage calculation has been updated. Previously damaging a close enemy with marksman or cutthroat skills, each grant a 10% additive bonus attack speed bonus for 8 seconds. While both attack speed bonuses are active, you deal 30% increased damage. Now, damaging a close enemy with a marksman or cutthroat skill, each grants a 10% attack speed bonus for 8 seconds. While both attack speed bonuses are active, your damage dealt is increased by 40% multiplicatively of the total amount of your damage versus crowd control bonus. Whew. A lot. Paragon. And then we just got Sorks and we are finished. Eldritch Bounty Legendary Node. Previously, when you attack with an imbued skill, you gain 20% resistance and 20% increased damage for that imbuement element for 9 seconds. Now, when you attack with an imbued skill, you gain 3% maximum resistance and 20% increased damage of that imbuement element for 9 seconds. Pride Rare Glyph. Previously, Paragon nodes within range gained 40% bonus to their physical damage and damage reduction modifiers. New, plus 125% bonus to all rare nodes within range. Also, the No Witness Legendary Node. Previously, your ultimate skill got a 30% increase in damage and grant you 10% increased damage for 20 seconds when cast. Now, you gain an additional 10% damage from your damage. That's hard to read. With ultimate bonus and grant this bonus to all skills for 8 seconds. And in legendary aspects, let's see here. We got some energy gain buffs with energizing aspect. Icy alchemist aspect got a buff. Toxic got a buff. Volatile shadows got a buff. Damage increase, damage increase, damage increase. Aspect of synergy. Agility skill damage increase from 10 to 30 to 30 to 50. And aspect of bursting venom no longer requires a crit, and lucky hit chance has been increased from 10 to 15%. Toxic pull damage increased from 1.08 to 1.35 to 1.25 to 1.52. Rogue is done. Now for Sorks. Sorks got quite a bit of stuff too. Glinting Firebolt. Previous critical strikes with Firebolt increase the burning damage you deal to an enemy by 20% for 4 seconds. Firebolt increases the burning damage you deal to an enemy by 25% for 3 seconds. Also, Incinerate. Bonus damage is ramped up from, instead of it taking 4 seconds, it only takes 2 now. This is a huge increase. We'll see if Incinerate is used more now. Frozen Orb got a big boost to single target damage. Meteor effect range has been increased. Wizard's Ball Lightning adjusts the maximum number of crackling energy generated per cast from 1 to 2. Hydra summoned Hydra damage has been increased from 12% to 60%. Maybe people will use this now. Supreme Currents, additional functionality. Crackling energy pulses 25% faster while unstable currents is active. Passives, what do we got here? Potent Warding. Previously, after casting a non-basic skill, you gain 2/4/6 resist all and 1/2/3 additional resistance to that skill's element. Now you still get 3/6/9, or now you get 3/6/9 resist all and another 1.3 or 1/2/3 of that skill's element. Align the elements. Additional functionality. The bonus persists for 2 seconds after taking damage. Okay. For the Paragon, I think this one's going to be pretty big. Yeah, the Paragon changes for Sork is going to be pretty big. Enchanter Glyph. Now you gain 5% max res. Galvanic Catalyst Rare Node. 17% crackling energy damage changed to 10% lightning damage. Surrounding crackling energy damage, magic nodes change to plus 5% lightning damage. Winter Rare Glyph. Now rare Paragon nodes within range gain 125% bonus to their effect. That's huge. Searing Heat, sorry. Now your fire skills have their critical strike chance increased by 10%, and their direct damage is increased by an amount equal to 10% multiplicative of their total amount of your bonus damage with fire, up to 30%. Kind of the same way with Burning Instinct, I think. Your burning damage deals bonus damage. Yep, same thing. Except this is total of your crit strike damage. Static Surge. kind of the same thing, except 10% of your maximum mana now. Elemental Summoner Legendary Node. Your conjuration skills have 10% reduced cooldown or mana cost. They also deal bonus damage equal to 3% multiplicative of their total amount of the total amount of your bonus cold, fire, and lightning. Whew. And Frigid Fate Legendary Node got changed up a bit. You now deal bonus damage to vulnerable enemies equal to 10% of your total amount of your bonus cold damage. And Icefall, kind of the same thing. Bonus crit strike damage to vulnerable enemies. This bonus is doubled. Big damage increases, essentially. Legendary aspects for Sorc. What do we got here? Of Piercing Static, previously of Static Clean. Legendary has been swapped with a Staff of Lam Essen. Previous power, your cast of Charge Bolt have a 15 to 25% chance to be attracted to enemies and last 300% longer. Now, Charge Bolts pierce, but deal 60 to 40% less damage to targets hit after the first. The aspect's name has been changed of Piercing Static to reflect its new power. Of Engulfing Flames, previously when enemies are affected by more damage over time than their total life, you deal 30 to 40% increased burning damage to them. Now it's when they're below 50% of their total life, or 80 to 100% if they are affected by more damage over time than their total life. Okay. Unique item changes. Staff of Endless Rage. Lucky hit, chance to slow affix, replace with fire damage. The unique power now also gives a third cast of Fireball, 20 to 40% damage. Ice Heart Braze Pants. Damage to injured enemies. Affix replaced with damage reduction. Intelligence affix replaced with bonus maximum life. Isu's Heirloom. Slow duration reduction affix replaced with critical strike damage. Evade grants movement speed increased from 1 to 2 seconds. Staff of Liam Neeson. The unique power has been swapped. The new power, that's what we just discussed. Gloves of the Illuminator, lucky hit chance to restore resource, increased by 50%. Damage penalty, reduced from 45 to 35 to 35 to 25%. Essador's Overflowing Cameo. Non-physical damage affix replaced with cooldown reduction. Crackling energy damage affix increased by 50%. Lightning Nova's base damage increased by 100%. The Lightning Nova deals 50% multiplicative increased damage for every 100 intelligence that you have. And there's Flame Scar. Ranks of Incinerate affix increased by 50%. That's pretty big. Non-physical damage affix replaced with mana cost reduction. And last but not least, the Oculus. Lucky hit chance to restore resource affix replaced with damage at 315% of normal value. All right. We're almost at the end, guys. Battle Pass updates. You guys can pause and read this. They gave us a little bit more platinum and stuff like that. Smoldering Ashes now automatically happen as well. Bug fixes. There's a lot here. I'm not going to read all of these, but you are more than welcome to pause this at any point and go through all of these. There was a lot of bug fixes for each class. Like we're on Druids right now. Necromancers. You can go through and check these for yourself. There is a lot of bug fixes for all these classes. So just throwing that out there. Co-op play. Nothing really too major here, I don't think. And dungeons, we've already went over a bunch of things about the dungeons. Basically, they've tried to fix them to make them more streamlined, so you're not running to the end, running to the front, running back to the end, etc. So they made things a lot better. I do believe the density is increased as well. And Events and Whispers got big boosts. And gameplay, there's more things. There's just a lot here. Like I said, we're not going to go over each and every one of these. I think we went over the big majority of stuff here. Strongholds got changed up where you can redo them, I believe. And then there's some quest fixes here and user interface fixes as well. And miscellaneous fixes as well. So, yeah, we went through a lot of that patch. And there's a lot more to go over. If you're willing to look this up, I'll put the link in the description below. But that is the meat and potatoes of it all. This was huge. This is a huge patch for Diablo 4, much needed. I don't know. Like, if you want to read all the rest of the changes, guys, you're more than welcome to. I'll leave a link in the description. Check us out on Twitch if you want to. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already here on YouTube, we're going to be posting more patch notes as they come out, or any updated patch notes as they come out. So that's what's on the horizon for the channel. More Diablo 4 news. Good news, thankfully. Season 2 is very exciting. We're going to be streaming that on Twitch quite a bit when it lands. So you're more than welcome to come over and join us if you'd like. But with that, I'm Skip Skadoodling out of here. Y'all be good. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.